The new game mode Skirmish has been out for a couple of weeks now, and it is intended to offer a more infantry-focused, less tactical and overwhelming experience for players that are new to the game and experienced players who just want to play a quick, relaxing round. Therefore, it is very different to what you are used from Hell Let Loose. And even though it might seem like your regular Hell Let Loose experience just on a smaller scale, it certainly isn't. The devs made significant changes that go far beyond just scaling the map down. Therefore, if you want to play Commander in these rounds, you will have to adapt to this mode, or you will ultimately lose your games. Before I get into telling you how to actually play as Commander, I quickly want to say two things. Firstly, like I've said, this game mode hasn't been out for very long, and therefore I did not have enough time to fully perfectionize my tactics. So then why am I making this video already? Actually, I did not have this video on my schedule, but throughout the rounds that I've played, I noticed that this game mode has an even larger lack of competent players than the large game modes. In most of the rounds that I've played, there weren't really a lot of good squad leads or even commanders, if any at all. The rounds ended too quickly and there is just too much rotation in the players to actually set up a good team. And when you finally have one, the rounds end and they leave. But you should not see this as an issue for yourself. Instead, for real, see it as a chance. This is the perfect game mode to learn how to play Commander. And there are a couple of reasons that go way beyond just the need of getting players who are willing to command in this mode. So, I can only appeal to you guys. If you are unsure whether you should give Command a try or not, go for it. This game mode is designed in a way that you don't have to coordinate your team and you don't need any squad leads on comms to win these rounds. Just you as Commander can literally decide the game. Even better, since there is only one objective, and because of the way that forward positions work, you can't really make any significant mistakes. In other game modes, a bad garrison placement or a wrong airhead can literally cost you the game. This is not the case for this game mode. I guarantee you, just by watching this video, you will have enough knowledge to be at least a decent commander from the first round on, even if you have never played as such before. But with all that being said, let's get in by covering the most important aspects of this game mode. Let's start with the obvious ones. There is only one objective and the rounds only last 30 minutes. Therefore, the maps are scaled down significantly and you currently can only play Skirmish on Driel and El Alamein. Surprisingly, El Alamein is actually the map that I prefer because the rework has just turned it from the worst into one of the best maps in the game. But Driel also plays very well for this mode. To focus on infantry combat, there is only one tank squad per team and also just one recon unit for 50-player teams. This means, even though the player density is a lot higher, it feels like you can move almost as freely as in the regular game modes, because you don't get killed from miles away by someone with a 10x scope. But what really sets this game mode apart from all the others is the forward position. This is a new type of garrison which you can only find in this mode. The forward position has a 40 seconds deploy timer, just like a normal Gary, and you will need 50 supplies to build it in the blue zone and 100 in red. If you have one of them in the blue zone and the enemy captures the sector, you will lose all forward positions in it. But these are pretty much all similarities to regular Garys. The forward position has, just like outposts, a timer on them. So if you placed them, you will have to wait 90 seconds until you can set up a new one. This is a very important thing to consider when you are setting them up, especially during the start of the round, because then you want to get as many forward positions up as fast as possible. But by far the biggest and most important difference to regular Garys is that the forward position does not have the 100-meter radius in red zone. This means for normal game modes, when you place a Gary in the red zone, it will have a 100-meter radius around it to make it locked when an enemy player comes too close. For blue zone Garys, this radius is only 15 meters, making them way more likely to be available to spawn on. Forward positions always have a 15-meter radius. This means you can literally drop it into the enemy strong point, and there is a high chance that you can actually spawn on it. In offensive or warfare, dropping a Gary close or even into the enemy strong point is one of the biggest mistakes you could make, but in Skirmish, this might very well work. You can also put forward positions closer together. Regular Garys have a 200-meter radius on them, forward positions only a 140-meter radius, which is highlighted as a yellow circle. So you can perfectly see whether you are able to set them up or not. You can build them in blue zone or the sector that surrounds the strong point. So if you are holding the objective, you can't place forward positions or outposts into the red zone. Now, just two more quick things before I start giving you actual guidelines on how to play. Firstly, the squares that divide the map are scaled down to 100 meters. So contrary to regular game modes when you are looking on the map, these squares aren't 200 meters. Secondly, you will automatically start with 2 sets of nodes pre-built, meaning you don't really have to worry about resources. You will have more than enough, so don't bother asking for more. So then, at the start of the game, you want to treat this mode just like offensive when you are playing as attacker. This means you want 2 Garys in the blue zone, one left and one right of the strong point. These should ideally be as close to the neutral territory as possible, but not inside it yet. You should also keep in mind that the map is scaled down, so even though something might look like it's far away from the strong point, it mostly isn't. You also want to drop supplies to the left or the right of the strong point and ask a squad leader to go there. Zoom into the map, search for cover, and drop your supplies there. If you don't know what I mean with search for cover, watch my video on how to read the map, as I will explain how you can identify whether a certain location provides cover or not. In the meantime, you will use the supply truck to set up the second Gary. If you don't have a squad lead that sets up the other one, don't drive there and try to set it up yourself. You will need to wait for the timer to expire anyways. So instead, use this time to get the supply truck behind the strong point. You can actually set up forward positions into the neutral territory. So focus on that first. What I found to work very well is to set up a configuration where you have 2 garrisons in the far west and far east. They should be around 300 to 400 meters away from the strong point and function as safe flanking Garys. They are unlikely to be taken down and still ensure your team has the option to attack from multiple sides at all times. So while your team is fighting for the middle objective, try to wrap around with a supply truck and set up one safe flanking Gary with the leftover supply crate. In the meantime, you want to drop your supplies for the other safe Gary and ask a squad lead to go there. If they don't respond, just do it yourself. If the enemy manages to capture the neutral territory, you will lose these Garys and have to rebuild them. But that is not an issue as long as you have at least one blue zone attack Gary up. Just like in the other modes, you should always prioritize getting a blue zone Gary up before you start working on offensive ones. So, the ideal starting configuration is with 4 garrisons, 2 in the blue zone, bottom left and bottom right of the strong point, and 2 safe Garys further away in the red on the top left and top right of the strong point. From this point on, the order is very simple. Get as many forward positions as humanly possible. Spam your supply drop whenever it is available and just drop them into a location that you think might be useful. Sure, the enemy will dismantle some of them, but definitely not all. And since you have at least 2 sets of nodes, you won't be running out of resources. All you will do for the rest of the game is spawning a supply truck and try to wrap around the enemy strong point. The great thing about this game mode is that every garrison you can set up might actually work. So except for the 140 meter radius, there is nothing you have to pay attention to. I can only advise you to be bold. You will get killed quite often in your supply truck, but if you manage to just get a single good flanking Gary up throughout the entire round, the enemy is pretty much screwed. I had rounds where I was able to set up garrisons 20 meters away from the strong point. Just be a bit sneaky and don't start randomly shooting before the first spawn wave was able to get in. This means, on the other hand, that if you are holding the objective, it is extremely important to be on alert at all times. A sneaky player can teleport 20 enemy players into your strong point. So remind your team not to push out too far and just set up as many garrisons as you can around your own point. If you lose a Gary, try to rebuild it as soon as possible and always assume that this is the location where a large push will come from. One more tip I can give you is that if you constantly get shot in the supply truck but actually have supplies on the ground from your supply drops, try spawning in a half-track and use the half-track as an armored transport vehicle. This will make it easier to break through the enemy line of fire and reach your target location. Plus, of course, you can also use it as a spawn point. But, just like in the other modes, never rely on a half-track. This is pretty much all I can tell you. I might rework this video once I had more time to play the mode, but I hope you enjoyed it and that I gave you the confidence to hop into the commander role. Until then, I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope I can catch you in the next one.